Howdy folks, it's Meandering Mike in the Man Cave of Madness. We're going to do a quick little unboxing, unbagging of this. This is a Decision Games mini games series. So their folio come in the 8.5 11. This is small size. What is that, like 6x9 or whatever? Yeah, looks not quite 6 or more than 9, but anyway, so these are relatively inexpensive, like $11.95, $12.95, something like that. Got a $12 price tag on this. I ordered this direct from Decision Games, so I don't remember what the actual online price was, but so this one I think is their latest release of their mini game series. I think it says on the back down here copyright 2023, but I believe it was released in 2024. Okay, so Battle of Kircholm, Riga in the balance, 1605, September 27th. Now, this is part of the Polish-Swedish War. Well, hopefully you're asking, which one, Meandering Mike? the Swedes and the Poles, or the Polish-Livonian Commonwealth, the Polish-Lithuanians, battling over the course of a couple of centuries, a series of wars. So what they were called normally the Polish-Swedish Wars started in the 1500s, and there's like different phases. And some of those phases, like phase 3 and 4, had almost no gap, like barely had a year gap in between them. So was that really two separate wars, two separate phases of war? I don't know. Okay, so this one, 1605, happened in the period that you'd probably call the Polish-Swedish Wars, the second phase from 1600 to 1611. Okay, this happened in the middle of that. There's more wars. There's a period called the Deluge that happened sort of after the Polish-Swedish Wars, which was a Polish-Swedish war, but that's also tied to something that's called the Russian-Swedish Deluge, since there was fighting at roughly the same time between the Poles and the Russians, and the Poles and the Swedes. And then there's the whole thing in the 1701 to 1706, which isn't called the Polish-Swedish War. It's actually part of the Great Northern War, which would be called the Polish Front of the Great Northern War. Now, so some of you might know about that one. That was Charles the 12th. Way back here in this is Charles the 9th, okay? And so Charles the 9th was doing his best to sort of reinvade, like Estonia had been a Swedish territory, and it's sort of been ceded away or given up in like 1599 or so, and then they were trying to take it back and trying to capture more, and like capture Riga in Latvia, which is also a part of the greater at the time Lithuania, between the Lithuanian and Polish alliance. So we have Charles the 9th coming in and invading, and he had gotten funded by Boris Godunov of Russia, because, you know, the Russians, again, are often fighting with the Poles, and he was trying to, you know, wanted Charles to have some success. And the main figure of this is the sort of the leader. Now, it looks like it's pronounced Chodkiewicz, which is not. It's Polish, so of course that's pronounced Chodkiewicz. Chodkiewicz. Now, you got to just learn that. You got to look it up and learn it. It certainly doesn't look like. That's the one thing about Polish. A lot of times, it does not end up sounding like it looks like it should be spelled. But Chodkiewicz. So here in 1605, we have Chodkiewicz going up against Charles the 9th. Chodkiewicz is actually outnumbered. Charles had amassed about 10 to 11,000 troops. Chodkiewicz was coming in with 3,500, 3,600 troops. but the Polish forces were much heavier in cavalry, elite cavalry, and the Swedes were heavier in infantry. So what happens when you meet up a small, outnumbered almost 3-to-1 force of cavalry against a whole bunch of infantry? And so that's what this battle is here. So it says it's part of the pike and shot system. Now, I have not yet played pike and shot from Decision Games, but I think I read that this is actually a simplified version. Does it say here? Yes. Uses a simplified variant. Let me zoom in a little better there. Even more there. Simplified variant of the pike and shot system. Massive blocks of pike form the basis of each army. Well, was not true. The core of Chodkiewicz's army was the cavalry. Yeah, so here they give some details of this a little bit. Charles IX besieged the Latvian port of Riga, part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Came to try to relieve the siege of Riga. Now let's look at what's inside. Okay, so this is just a cover. Gee, let me zoom back out. Okay, it's part of the folio game, or the mini game, excuse me. The back cover. So you got 2 cards, front and back covers. So it's not a folio. Those are just like little inserts. You got the rule book here. Okay, the quick play system, pike and shot. So it has some, series level rules that you should be able to find in any of their pike and shot titles. Okay, and then so this whole thing is only 6 pages. So there's a folded double with a single sheet in the middle. So that's 6 total pages. No diagrams, no examples of play, however. Okay. A terrain effects chart in the back, combat results table, die 6. Depending on what it is, so fire looks like a range, and melee and charge is a differential. Okay. So you're using a different column, depending on what kind of fire you're doing. You're rolling a die and seeing what kind of effect you have. All right. So pretty boring looking rules. Okay. No pictures, no examples other than here, these unit counters. All right. So you want to see the good stuff, the map. Let's start with the map. Map next after the boring rules. All right, so train key, which again, my pet peeve, always in one spot. So way down here, they have the effects, the movement cost, the combat effects, and way up there, they have the key. Put them together. Figure out how to put them together, guys. Please, please, please. All right. So we have, let's see here. I'm going to tilt it slightly since the map is along this way. Here's the Polish camp, Kircholm, the Dvina River. All right, so this way is north here. All right, so there's a little key here that shows that each hex is 176 yards across. Okay, that's kind of a odd size, but that is what it is. 176 yards. All right. So this is actually a dry stream bed. dry riverbed here. There's a swampy area here. Okay, and we have 4 red dots. I'm going to assume that's delineating a setup area, maybe. It could be objective, like, maybe, occupying the area within there or not. We'll have to see. There's nothing on the back over there. Okay, so set that aside. Here is the counters. Okay, they're sort of falling out there, some of them. These are really, really tiny looking. Those look smaller than 1/2-inch counters. Now, they're much smaller than these hexes. The hexes aren't big enough to have 2 wide, but you can stack guys up. But still, you can't have multiple guys in the hex other than stacking them. It's not big enough. So that's I'm curious on that decision. Why not have if you're gonna have the hexes this big and you're not putting multiple guys in there side by side, why not make these a little bigger? All right. So these have a red stripe. These have a white stripe. Those guys have no back step. No, they fell out. So I believe the white line means it's on its last step. Whether the line through the numbers, whether it's these guys. So these guys only have 1 step. Everyone else has a back step, and all the units except for artillery. Artillery don't have the line underneath. It looks like none of the artillery move, so they're all set up in certain places, but cannot maneuver in the context of the battle. All right. So that's falling right out. So obviously we have some leaders here. Yeah, see, like these guys have 2 massed pike units. And these guys that fell out, there's 3 and 2 more there. So they have 5. So they have more than twice. They have 2.5 times as many Charles's Swedes and whatever mercenaries from whichever countries he scraped together. Here's Hotkevich. Of course, I don't know these other guys. I don't know how to pronounce them. All right. So we need to take a quick look at the victory conditions here to figure out this battle, what they're actually trying to do. Now, my little understanding of the battle, the fact that Hotkevich lured the Swedes like out of position. He made a feint attack and then made it look like they were retreating, and then the Swedes sort of kind of like spread out a bit and pursued, and then they got smashed as the Kevich's forces sort of like counterattacked or had, I don't know if it was like hidden troops waiting like in an ambush or what, but all right, so where are victory conditions? Well, okay, let's go to the front. They're usually either the front or the back, right? It's usually like one of the last things how to win or one of the first things how to win. And I'm not seeing it, so if I don't find it quick enough, we're just going to call it quits there and call that as it is, but I'd like to share with you what is leaders, pursuit, line of sight, game notes, Swedish collapse, artillery. Swedish soldier had, yeah, they had forced marched the night before to get in position. So they were kind of, so they have a little a rule about these guys being ready to give up the ghost. This is weird. Where is orders of battle? So here's the players. Here's game notes, designer notes. So for this particular battle, this is some informational stuff. Wow. Okay, I'm a stymied here. Well, oh, here it is. Wow. Sequence of play. It's in the sequence of play section. At the end of that, winning the game. All right. Swedish decisive victory. Swedish player wins the decisive victory if a Swedish unit enters the Commonwealth camp hex. Okay. Over here. 1107. If they get a unit into the Polish camp hex, they win a decisive victory. Okay. Really? Okay. Yeah, sure. Commonwealth decisive victory. The Commonwealth player with decisive victory. If Charles the Ninth becomes a casualty, or he leaves the map. Minor victory. The number of eliminated units. Leader, casualties, and captured cannons each count as an eliminated unit for this person. Each player scores 1 victory point for each enemy unit or leader eliminated, and 2 victory points for each enemy cannon unit captured. All right. Does that say if you rout the guys and they leave the map? Now, if Charles the Ninth leaves the map. All right, so we still have no clue what those 3 dots are, this triangular area here. So where do they talk about set up? Map, components, inventory, setting up. Decide which player will play which side, sort the color, blah, blah, blah. 6 turns. Swedish player moves first, the turn marker, 1200, blah, 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 blah. Alternate moving. And set them up as noted below. Okay, let's keep going. There's more below the next page. Okay. Place all units and leaders on any hill hex numbered XX09 or higher. 09. Wait, 09. 09? Wait. XX, they're going this way. So hills down here, these hills. Because there's 02, 09. And so these are all hill hexes down this way. Yeah, I would have stated that a different way or something. Place them anywhere on the contiguous hill mass that Kircholm is part of. Or something. Anywhere in these hills. All right. And place 3 units with the camp ID on or adjacent to the Commonwealth camp. Place all the units on any hex in the triangle defined areas. Stacking rules must be observed. Okay. So the Poles start here, and 3 guys here in the Polish camp. The Swedes are down here. The Swedes win an automatic victory if they take this. And otherwise, it's bleeding each other. Well, or the Poles could win by knocking off Charles or making him retreat. All right, so it'll be interesting to see how this really does the job of... I need to do, I guess, reading of the details of the battle and then see if this makes sense. So, Meandering Mike, Man Cave of Madness. This is our little mini unboxing here. Unbagging of... yeah, the counters are falling out of there. There we go. All right, so thank you for viewing. Remember, take care of your games, and they will take care of you. Ciao, y'all.